Hi, my name's Claudia. Um, I want a new challenge for 2023. I think because the last few years have been, I feel like I've been just kind of like hunkering down and just making ends meet and getting on day by day. And I've reached the point where I'm fed up of it because I'm just um, earning what I can, paying bills, and doing nothing else. So I need some kind of challenge because I'm feeling kind of restless now. A little bit of background: I live in the northwest of England. I don't come from around here, but I've been living here for about 8 years now. I'm a sole proprietor, I run my own business from home. As you can see, this crazy room is my spare room, which is my studio. I also write. I run a business blog for my design business, which focuses on fashion, jewellery, and home decor, but from an upcycling point of view. So I upcycle fabrics, things that would go into like broken jewellery, things like that, and I turn them into other things and I resell them on my Etsy shop. I'm also really big on frugal living, which I think is really current right now. As you can see, I'm in about 4 layers at the moment. Last night it was -6 here. Today it's a couple of degrees. It's -2 outside. It's 9 degrees in the flat. Heating only goes on in the evening, and I can only put it on up to 13 degrees. And this is life for lots of people right now. I'm certainly not the only one, and I don't consider myself to be in a really horrific situation. I have a small amount of financial backup, which means at least my bills get paid every month. But I'm only buying essentials. I don't have luxuries, and I've got used to living like that. I've been in my flat here for 4 years. It's the first time I've been able to live on my own, and I really love it. I love the independence. I love just doing my own thing. But it comes with sacrifices because living alone means that instead of two people paying for, say, half rent and things like that, I have to pay for it all. So I've learnt over 4 years how to just cut back on everything. I'm an absolute spreadsheet maniac, which means that I know where every penny goes, which in its own way is a good thing. And it means that, when 2020 came along and since, and now with everything that's going on now, it's hard, but it's not as hard for me as it is for other people who, perhaps up until last year, didn't worry about things like how much the shopping was costing, or whether or not they'd be able to go out on a Friday night, because I'm used to living like that now. But it is tough. This cold snap that we're in at the moment, which I think is going to be gone in a few days at the weekend, will be a real shock for people who have either stopped putting on their heating because they know how much it's going to cost, or are just putting it on and hoping for the best. I've just had my last energy bill for the year come through. I used less energy last month than this month, but I've only had the heating on since the 6th of December, and it's now the 14th, and I've only got it on in the evening to that 13-degree level, and it's been my highest bill so far this year. So, the struggle is real. So my first challenge for 2023 is to get into vlogging. I write several blogs. I do one for my business. I do a frugal living blog. And whilst I love writing them, and I love writing generally, I have found that I enjoy watching vlogs more than reading blogs. And I follow quite a few YouTube channels from various vloggers. Some of them are frugal lifestylers, some of them are true crime, some of them are van lifers all over the world, and they're a whole range of abilities. Some people really know what they're doing. They've got all the software kit, and they can chop in graphics and all sorts of things, and stick their videos together. And then there are other people at the other end of the scale, like me, who will literally be doing one pointer shoot and uploading it, and that's fine. And I actually really like those. I find they're really authentic. They're showing people for who they really are, and that's what mine is going to be. if anyone actually watches it. I hope it will be interesting, or at least useful to some people, particularly as 2023 is going to be at least as hard as 2022 was. I'm going to do talk about all the sorts of things that I do just to get by, how I cut my food bills. My food bills this year have averaged £17 a month, and there's lots of different ways that I manage that. I only buy, discounted food, but I also use things like cashback apps. I also do a lot of scratch cooking, and I use wartime baking recipes which use minimal ingredients to make really nice food. So I don't go without. There's also side hustles, how to make other income, because my business income has dropped a little this year. It's not been as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it has dropped a bit. So I've had to find some side hustles, which I started at the beginning of 2022. Things like doing online surveys, which I didn't think was going to make much money, but actually it's going quite well. And I want to improve on that next year. But I'm stuck in this rut of every day is just trying to earn enough money just to stand still. And it's getting boring now because I don't have the money to go anywhere. I don't get to do day trips. Fuel is high. I can walk, but I don't live especially close to lots of places that I'd like to go to. So driving's pretty much out. There's just all sorts of challenges, lots of little challenges, which everyone's facing. I'm not unique, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I like the authentic, real life stories. And if you're sitting there like me, and you can see your breath in front of you as you're breathing or talking, then that's what it is. And I don't like seeing these kind of faked up accounts where people tell you how to live when they probably put their heating on and things like that. But there are lots of people who aren't doing that and are getting braver at showing that. I think because we're kind of all in it together now, in that respect, that it's becoming less of a thing to hide. It's all right if you say, I was really cold last night because I couldn't put my heating on. This morning I took a photo of my windows because I went to wipe down my windows because the condensation here is pretty terrible. And it's ice on the inside of my windows this morning. And I posted that up because there are other people who are looking at their windows this morning and going, oh my God, there's ice on the inside of my windows. That's the way it is. And I know that my parents used to talk about, when they were growing up in the 40s and 50s as kids, ice on the insides of the windows, putting their clothes under the covers before they got dressed to try and warm them up a little bit. I'm doing all these things, and I have friends who are the same age as me who grew up in those situations as well. The 70s and 80s were actually not that great a time. We didn't have insulated homes. A lot of places still had wood-burning fires. That wasn't my situation. I was quite lucky in that respect, but lots of people did. So lots of people who are now more comfortably off than they were remember things being like that, and now we're back where we were. I feel like financially the country's regressing. We were heading into, I watched a Zoom webinar this morning from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation about the cost of living as it is now and going into next year. Poverty had increased to a great level before the pandemic in 2020, and this is just the icing on the cake. The last few years have pushed it into a terrible situation. Now, like I said, I'm not as badly off as some people. I'm not living hand to mouth in terms of that I can't afford to eat and I can't afford to pay my bills, but I'm terrified of spending any money that's not an absolute essential, because you don't know when you're going to need the savings that you do have. We have no idea what's happening next year with energy prices, and it's really hard to control energy because most of the rises in the costs have gone on the standing charge, which you have no control over. You pay that every day just for being connected to the system. So even if you don't use energy, you're still paying more this year than last year because you are connected to the network. And that really sucks because there's very little you can do in that respect. But So there's all this horrific stuff going on. Now I'm recording this, my kind of intro. It's the 14th of December today. So this vlog really, I suppose, will start properly next year, as it's one of my 2023 challenges. But I may post something else up before the end of the year. I'm going to be away for Christmas, somewhere warmer. Just in terms of central heating, I'm going to be staying with my parents for 2 weeks, which will be lovely, because their living situation is slightly different to mine. So it's going to be a nice trip away. So there'll be some nice country walks, and I'm sure I can add a couple of short videos to that, just to make things a little bit more interesting. So it's me and my hot cup of tea, and I hope that you will follow this channel. I think there will be something in it for most people who are currently in the struggles. And I will keep watching other YouTubes, and I will probably recommend a few as well, because there are some really great YouTubers out there doing similar things to me and being practical and being helpful and useful, and got lots of interesting information that could actually help, or at least it's nice to know that you're not the only one, that everyone's in the same situation. So I think that's enough from me. I've rambled for an entire 11 minutes, which is pretty good for me. I'm not comfortable doing selfies or videos or anything like that, so this is my number one my number one fear. Something else to challenge for 2023 is just to get on with videos. So that's it from me. That's enough rambling, and I hope you're all staying well and staying warm.